Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on, let's take a look at Labour leader Keir Starmer. Labour leader. Starmer took charge of Labour in 2020. This was after Labour Party suffered its worst electoral defeat in 84 years under left-wing veteran Jeremy Corbyn. Starmer will be the oldest person to become British Prime Minister in almost half a century. He has sought to develop Labour as a party of competence and pragmatism rather than one driven by an overriding ideology. He's a former human rights lawyer who rose to become Britain's top prosecutor. He was appointed Director of Public Prosecutions for England and Wales in 2008. Starmer was elected to Parliament in 2015 and served in Corbyn's team as the spokesperson for Brexit. He was named after the founder of the Labour Party, Keir Hardie. He was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II, but rarely used the prefix Sir. Starmer is also a talented musician. He had violin lessons at school with Norman Cook. Nigel Farage, a leader of the right-wing Reform UK party, won a seat in the British Parliament for the first time on Friday in the seaside English town of Clacton-on-Sea. Farage, whose career of anti-immigration, pro-Brexit campaigning has made him one of Britain's most recognisable and divisive political figures, comfortably beating the Conservative candidate Giles Watling, who had previously held the seat. And after 7 unsuccessful attempts to win a seat in Parliament, Friday's victory finally puts Farage at 16 at a political institution he has spent decades railing against and will test his ability to deliver on promises to the voters. He also said that he will be beginning a mass movement with eyes on 2029 general polls. On his target were both the Conservatives and the Labour Party.
It's not just disappointment with the Conservative Party. There is a massive gap on the centre-right of British politics, and my job is to fill it, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. My plan is to build a mass national movement over the course of the next few years and hopefully be big enough to challenge the general election properly in 2029. What is interesting is there's no enthusiasm for Labour, there's no enthusiasm for Starmer whatsoever. In fact, about half of the vote is simply an anti-Conservative vote. We will now be targeting Labour votes. We're coming for Labour, be in no doubt about that.
And as the counting of votes are underway, we are getting some more results in from the constituencies with more Labour Party wins. Labour has achieved a decisive victory in Glasgow, winning all 6 seats and flipping them from the SNP. Martin Rhodes has been elected in Glasgow North, marking a complete sweep for Labour in the city. Labour's Lillian Jones has secured victory in Kilmarnock and Lodon with over 19,065 votes, with the SNP coming second with 13,936 votes. This marks the first result declared in Scotland. And for more on the election results, DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us from the newsroom, and Barzain Wagmore, SOAS University London, and visiting fellow Royal United Services Institute joins us from London. Welcome to the studio, sir. Welcome to DD India.
Good morning.
Good morning. Our first question to you is that, of course, the Labour Party has won a landslide victory, a clear majority there. Starmer wins his parliamentary seat. How do you read today's results?
Well, it was expected in one way overnight that the Conservatives would be trounced, as indeed they have been. And it was surmised that it would be their worst defeat since the party's founding in 1834. As we go on air, and it's just 10 to 6 here in the morning in London, Labour have garnered 378 seats and Conservatives 92. Counting is still going on as we speak and should wind up by 0700 hours, give or take. And the fact is that Labour have comfortably crossed, so they're home and dry to form the next government. And outgoing Prime Minister Sunak did telephone Sir Keir Starmer at 4:40 this morning to concede defeat and congratulate him. It's interesting to note that Mr. Sunak did retain his Yorkshire constituency, but it was with a dent, in that previously he had won with a 63% majority. It has been cut down to size tonight to 47.5%. So Mr. Sunak did retain it, but obviously has taken a hammering, not to mention the fact that about 8 cabinet ministers have lost their seats. And what is interesting is how the SNP, the Scottish Nationalist Party, the pro-independence party for an independent Scotland, has been completely trounced in the general election, in that last time around, at least from last time around, they are down to 8 seats now, a humiliating 8 down from 48 seats. And Labour has truly trumped them this time. Labour was hot on their heels right through the campaign, and it is important to note that the SNP had no credibility despite their progressive politics and left-centre views on many matters. It should be a harbinger of things to come with Sir Keir Starmer's highly left-centred, high-taxing socialist agenda. For example, they intend to nationalize an energy firm and set up now something called Great British Energy that was announced in the manifesto. This and among other factors have to be seen. How will they play out? High taxes can be expected in the first budget, including taxes on property, inheritance and wealth, not to mention the Labour Party's commitment to decarbonisation and net zero, which does fly in the face of ground realities and costs, astronomical costs. So if one goes to see the Labour manifesto as it was, Sir Keir kept to a very cautious posturing right through the campaign. But of course, he didn't reveal his cards. But it is time to see now what pans and plays out. Final point is Mr. Sunak will go to see His Majesty the King this morning to offer his resignation, because these things do move very swiftly, and Sir Keir should be in 10 Downing Street by the weekend and definitely in for his first cabinet meeting on Monday morning, after he's invited by His Majesty to form the next government.
All right. Also, Sir Rishi Sunak stunned many in his own party by calling the elections earlier, which was slated for Jan 2025. What could you say about this move?
Yeah, that is an interesting point to iterate, which I did a few hours earlier also. You see, this government could have continued, in theory, up to January 2025. There was nothing stopping them from doing so. Right. Mr. Sunak could have called an autumn election. Even he could have gone right through into Christmas, for that matter. There was nothing to stop him. It is unknown why Mr. Sunak took this gamble, and he has ill-served his party in doing so by calling this snap poll. And what is historically significant is that when he called this snap poll on the 22nd of May, as he did that, the Conservatives were 20 points behind in opinion ratings. No politician would have otherwise taken such a gamble. But Mr. Sunak was imprudent enough to do so. That needs to be put into context. And of course, many ask as to why he did not wait until, say, interest rates or borrowing costs could have gone down, and perhaps that could have worked in his favor. Not to mention that inflation has gone down to 2%, which is his one singular success as such. But on immigration, it has been absolutely abysmal, and immigration did matter a lot to the British electorate at large, and which is why Nigel Farage has made inroads into Conservative votes. And he intends, as he has mentioned at 3:20 this morning, also that we are coming for Labour, and it's to be seen as to how this plays out. Okay, but again, it's not known why Mr. Sunak did so. He just took this gamble, and of course, it has backfired miserably.
All right. Just stay with us while I take a question with Akshay. Akshay, if we talk about Starmer, his efforts to drag the Labour Party to the centre of British politics seems to have paid off, and he promised a decade of national renewal and is now ready to take Britain's top job.
Well, absolutely. What a day for the Labour Party. In fact, the number of seats that they are predicted to win, in fact, is crossing 400. So let us just turn to the BBC coverage of the general elections, and as let me just refresh this and get you the numbers that are currently being grabbed by both the major parties of the United Kingdom. Here you have the Labour Party with 387 seats. That is a plus of about 189 seats. In fact, the Conservative Party is still less than 100 mark. There are just 93. Down from 365 that was the tally of the Conservative Party in 2019 elections. Here also interesting to see is that the Liberal Democrats that were somewhere around 10 to 12 parties at the last elections have now reached a tally of 57. So clearly an anti-incumbency playing out here in the elections in the UK. Let us move to the constituency wise numbers. Here you can see the entire coverage. Here is Scottish National Party at 7, the Liberal Democrats here at 54, they have an upswing of about 47 seats. The Conservatives have a downswing of about 207 seats. The Labour Party here, however, has grabbed the day, and they will be forming the government, seems, with Keir Starmer predicted to be the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
All right, Akshay. And thank you so much, sir, for joining us and giving us all that update. Thank you, Akshay.